Things move fast in Formula One. Mercedes, a team that's dominated the sport for almost a decade, is not even second best anymore. But while the agony of last season and the season before is still fresh in the Silver Arrows' minds, a new dawn is approaching. There is finally some hope for 2023. In today's video, we're going to talk about the team's different approach to the 2022 season and more. So, keep watching. First off, Mercedes had no control over the 2021 season finisher. Toto Wolff was the most distraught man in the world when that safety car incident happened during the 2021 season finale in Abu Dhabi. His anguished radio cries imploring Michael Macy not to screw him over still echo in the paddock. And even though the team decided to not lodge an official appeal, the pain carried on for months, deep into the next season as well. Sure, they'd clinched the Constructors' Championship, adding another year to their dominant run, but that wasn't the point. It was, in every way, a disaster for the team, because they couldn't really even blame anyone, not themselves, and not even the FIA, so it ended up being this weird ball of emotions and strong feelings that essentially had no outlet. In fact, Wolff went as far as to say that this was the first time since his childhood that he'd felt truly out of control. Like, of course, the 2022 season had its drawbacks in its own right, as the W13 refused to cooperate from the get-go. That said, perhaps the agony of losing something in the blink of an eye, rather than in a drawn-out season, is immeasurable. After all, they had plenty of time to come to terms with the fact that they just weren't good enough this year. And that's why, according to Wolff, the 2021 season was way more painful for them, despite them being more competitive throughout. Not to mention, the fate of the championship being out of your hands, especially after coming so close, is never a good feeling. Up next, the 2022 season was a stark contrast for the team. Fast forward to 11 months later, and everyone in the Silver Arrows garage was essentially celebrating. Wolff's post-Abu Dhabi GP interview began with laughs and was interrupted by his son Jack, and honestly, it almost felt as good as it did back when they were winning double championships. Of course, the season hasn't been easy for them by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, most people would argue that it's been much worse than 2021, as they barely managed to clinch a single race win throughout the year. So what's up with their jolly mood? Well, it's simple really. You see, for Mercedes, last season ended in disbelief. This year, on the other hand, it's a relief. They know what they're lacking heading into the off-season, and even though the W13 has been an absolute diva, they finally understand how to nail the setup and get the car performing. What's more, the Silver Arrows are the team with perhaps the greatest amount of progress during the year. Seriously though, just look at where they started from. They were literally nowhere near the podium, and by the end, not only were they among the top 3 finishers in every race, but they were also challenging for race wins. And for Toto, it's the fact that the year wasn't as peaky as last year that made it hurt less. Like, they knew from the get-go that the car was just not good enough. What's more, he compared it to peeling an onion, saying that understanding the W13 was the same process as they tried to build for the future. Not to mention, the 2022 season felt fair according to Wolff. Now, here's the biggest distinction between the two campaigns for the Mercedes boss. He thinks that, even if they spent the majority of this year trying to damage control, it was still their doing. What happened last year in Abu Dhabi, however, wasn't their doing at all. Plus, there was a certain meritocracy to how this season turned out. So not only is it easy to accept, but it's also easier to digest because the team is conscious that others did a better job. Obviously, Wolff admitted that it's not okay in the sense that they're relaxed about winning just one race during the season. After all, they probably set higher standards for themselves than us. It's just that they can actually see a path forward now, as they've already started work on next year's car. Besides, everyone in the Silver Arrows camp seems really confident about their 2023 prospects, as, according to them, they've built a really strong foundation this year and have finally understood the car's concept. So, you can expect the old nippy Mercedes to return to the grid in the season opener. What's more, Hamilton is hopeful for the future as well. Of course, Wolff wasn't the only one who felt pleased about the way Mercedes' season had gone. The 7-time world champion also said that he had some positives to look back on, despite losing his record of getting a race win in every single season. That said, while it was obviously a bummer, he believes that a single win doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things anyway, and they've got to focus to get more than that in the upcoming season. Not to mention when they got their first 5th position this year, even that felt like a win. Now, there's obviously some chronological manipulation going on here, because the Silver Arrows did get their first podium in Bahrain. Then again, that was only due to Red Bull's double failure, so Hamilton's point still stands. To start from such a low point and to make so much progress during the campaign is a massive achievement in and of itself. Next year, however, seems to be shaping up even better for them as they prepare to launch another title bid. Having said that, the Brit isn't too worried about that right now. For him, this is a time of reflection and self-improvement. And speaking to the press after Abu Dhabi, he said that he's just going to spend some time with his family, build some snowmen, and just have a nice winter before getting back into the groove of things in time for testing. Let's hope they can actually follow up on their promise though, because we as fans definitely want to see a three-way title fight in 2023. Now, the Silver Arrows suffer a setback for next season. Speaking of being hopeful for a three-way fight next year, it seems like Mercedes might have to put those plans on pause, at least for now. Yep, apparently a big chunk of the team's progress in 2022 is going to be wiped off as the new F1 technical regulations have outlawed it. Of course, we're talking about the new front wing endplates that they introduced at the Miami Grand Prix, which has helped them extract some additional pace out of the car. The German outfit isn't the only team that's going to suffer from the new regulations though, as Aston Martin's rear wing endplate, which came under the spotlight in Hungary, has also been deemed illegal for 2023. Make no mistake, both of these designs were totally legal this year because the FIA didn't want to damage an already struggling team. That said, these gray areas have now been addressed for the latest set of regulations, meaning that Mercedes and Aston Martin will have to redesign their wings heading into next year. Coming up, did the designs even help though? It's easy to see something like this come up with the news and go straight to doom and gloom conclusions, but the fact of the matter is that a Formula One car is incredibly complex, and it continues to evolve throughout the season as teams try different solutions. So a single endplate concept isn't going to suddenly turn a Mercedes into a Williams. No offense to the Williams fans. You get why the FIA has decided to ban it though. Apparently, the complexity of the endplates resulted in air vortexes behind the car, which of course led to a loss in downforce for the people following behind. Like, the whole point of these newer cars was to simplify the wing designs to allow closer racing, and the new design goes against that. That being said, the loss in performance from reverting to a more traditional design probably isn't going to be very significant, as we're sure the engineers are smart enough to come up with an even better solution. Finally, Aston Martin is still proud of its radical wing design. Even though the wing concepts are getting banned for 2023, that doesn't mean the teams can't be proud of their ideas, and that's exactly what Aston Martin's performance director Tom McCullough thinks as well. According to him, the fact that they even came up with a novel idea like this, despite the team's history of sticking to conventional stuff, shows that they're making progress. Of course, it's a bummer to lose it for next year, especially since the FIA did sorta allow them to run with it throughout the 2022 season. Still, they're proud of the fact that they carried this advantage over everyone else for a major chunk of the year. Besides, we're sure they can find some other gray areas to exploit in 2023 instead. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think Mercedes can challenge for the title next year? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.